My name is Ajay Gulati. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Zerostack, and we are a private cloud company. So let me just go through a little bit of the background and vision for the company. If you look at the enterprise journey to cloud, we have gone from the age of physical infrastructure to virtualization. I was at VMware myself for about 6 years and led that evolution from physical to virtualization. But over last 4 or 5 years, we are making a transition from virtualization to cloud-based model. And some of the public clouds like AWS, Google, Azure, they are leading that innovation into the cloud space. And if you look at the enterprise adoption of the private cloud, it has been low. But to really understand the reasoning, let's go through the existing cloud model. So we have two models right now. One is the public cloud model that really gives you the ease of use. And you can have pay as you go. You don't have to worry about all the operational headache, infrastructure. You don't have to build, set up, and manage all of these things. But since you give up your operational headaches, you also give up your regular control, and you really have to worry about performance and predictability, and in some cases, compliance, security, and higher cost once you start to consume that at larger scale. The other model is a private cloud model where it gives you much greater control, but now it comes with a lot of headache in itself, and you have to now build everything yourself. And at Zerostack, what we have built is a different model of deploying private cloud, which gives you the best of both worlds in terms of public cloud experience with private cloud control. And how we do that is really we have defined a new model of building a private cloud. And let me just explain what I mean by that new model. If you look at any cloud stack, when you are thinking of bringing up a cloud within the enterprise or outside, there are 4 layers to this stack. The bottommost layer is the infrastructure layer. This is where your applications and data lives, and that is where you have compute, storage, networking, all of the infrastructure pieces. Next, you have the management software, which essentially stitches up all this infrastructure together and gives you an API to instantiate VMs and create volumes, networks, and convert that infrastructure into an API. The next layer above that is essentially the operations layer, where your team needs to be able to manage, monitor, and operate this cloud either in-house or outside. And the 4th layer is the user workflows through which people actually consume the cloud, and that gives you the multi-tenancy. Now, in a public cloud, the vendor takes care of all of these 4 layers. They essentially manage everything for you. You are just consuming the cloud through an API. But the moment you move to a private cloud model, now it comes everything onto the actual consumer. They have to procure hardware, software, talent to actually build everything together and do everything in-house. And I think finding all of that is a much bigger challenge, and that, in my mind, is the biggest reason why the private cloud adoption has been slower. And I really think that model itself is a broken model. It's not going to succeed the way private clouds are today. So what we have done at Zerostack is we have built a new model of deploying a private cloud. I actually call it a micro cloud model, where the infrastructure and the management software is on-premise, but the operations layer and the user workflows layer is running in a Zerostack cloud, and it is shared across all customers. So what that gives you is you get the same control and visibility, data locality, performance as a private cloud that you see on the right-hand side. But it also gives you the feature agility, ease of use, and real-time insights and analytics, and lack of operational headache of a public cloud. And that essentially brings the benefit of both of these worlds while still giving you a private cloud solution. So let me just go one level deeper into how the solution exactly looks. So there are 2 parts to it. On-premise, what we have is a Zerostack cloud building block, which is basically a piece of converged hardware with Zerostack software installed. And you can put it in your data center or colo, wherever you want to put it. But once you put that in, you do the consumption through the Zerostack cloud portal. So it's almost like you log into the cloud portal, and when you say create a VM or launch this application, everything is happening on-premise. And what we have built on the on-premise piece is a different new symmetric scale-out architecture, where we are running some control plane across all of these nodes that gives you software-defined storage, software-defined networking, and a self-healing architecture. So if anything fails on-premise infrastructure, our control plane takes care of that. And the consumption happens through the cloud portal, and there we have built a couple of really neat additional features. For example, we have something called as an app store through which you can do a single-click deployment of apps. We also collect data in the cloud portal in terms of health monitoring, in terms of VM stats and host level stats, and we give you monitoring analytics as well as capacity planning for your infrastructure. Now, what's the advantage of this model in real dollar terms and real value for the customer? So there are two axes here. If you look at the x-axis, it shows the time to value for a cloud. And in case of a public cloud, the time to value is literally minutes. And we have pretty much made the time to value within 30 minutes that you can deploy the Zerostack cloud and start putting applications on it within about 30 minutes once you have racked and stacked that box. Whereas if you try to build a private cloud today yourself, it's a matter of 3 to 6 months where you have to figure out what server, what storage, what networking, which software stack, and then have a team to pretty much stitch everything together. In terms of cost itself, the biggest piece in the cloud, if you look at the cloud economics, is the cost of operations. Because hardware is getting commoditized and software is not a very expensive thing. So given that in case of Zerostack model, we have taken the operations layer and we have amortized it across a lot of customers. And Zerostack takes care of running and managing the cloud for them using the software that we have built. Our cost is actually even less than a public cloud model if you go and actually rent those VMs from a public cloud. Now, obviously, compared to building the whole thing yourself, the cost is going to be drastically lower in case of Zerostack model. So if I was to look at the main use cases of this technology, so there are 4 main use cases that we have identified and that we have seen within our customer base. One is enterprises who want to build a private cloud to run their own applications on it, and they can literally start with a single 2U node. So the box that I showed is essentially a 2U node with 4 servers, and that actually gives you a fully functional, highly available private cloud on which you can run about 100 VMs depending on the size. Second use case is if you are even a smaller company who just wants to have a quick CI/CD environment and you want to run it in-house, you can run it on top of Zerostack platform. And it's literally 30 minutes to running your CI/CD environment. And I'll show how quickly you can actually deploy some of the apps and get the environment up and running. I actually wish we had something like this when we started Zerostack because we had to build our own CI/CD environment with an in-house team. The third use case is essentially the big data analytics, where if you are producing a lot of data in-house, for example, it could be a biotech company, it could be a media company, it could be an oil and gas company, you want to have a cloud to do all the analytics next to that data. And Zerostack is a very well-built solution to basically put next to the data and run analytics on it. And finally, if you're building cloud-native apps which are designed to work on a cloud platform, either a public cloud or private cloud, the solution fits very well. I'll just quickly go through some of the user views, how the experience of the admin and the user looks like on the platform. So in terms of building the cloud, you just rack and stack the Zerostack zBlock, and you can build a cloud from the Zerostack SaaS portal in literally 30 minutes. Once you do that, the administrator can essentially see the cloud dashboard. They can do monitoring, analytics, planning, and usage. And here are some UI screenshots of what the admin would look at. So this actually shows you the cloud dashboard. Similarly, this shows you the global infrastructure view because you can put Zerostack at multiple sites and manage it from the single SaaS layer. So you can have regions with availability zones, and you can manage all of that from one place. Third is the business units, which is a way to partition the cloud across multiple tenants, and now those tenants can independently consume the cloud. Finally, if you look at the user or developer experience, the user essentially, they get something called as Z App Store, through which they can do single-click deployment of apps. They get project workspace. They get API, CLI that they can call to quickly deploy their applications onto the infrastructure. So this is a view of the Z App Store, and here are some apps that we have already put on the App Store, and we are adding more apps every week. Similarly, this is the project workspace and the self-service view that a user sees, and then they can use that to create their own workload. So I'll stop here. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you.